Hi everybody, Andy Lightbody. Welcome to this edition of Wheels Afield. Well, behind me is the Mazda Speed 3. Now, normally when you got a car, they say it's like a Chevy Suburban. Okay, and so you say Suburban and everybody knows what you're talking about. Or you say Corvette, everybody knows what you're talking about. Well, with Mazda, they decided that they're actually going to call the car the Mazda Speed 3. So it's a little different. Obviously, winky winky, they're kind of proud of what they've got introduced here. Now, the Speed 3 was originally introduced back in 2007. In its class, it has basically thumped most all of the competition. Why? Because this is a go-fast car. This is something where fun is once again affordable. Let me show you a few of the features and what I'm talking about. First off, for 2010, it got a minor redo. Some of the sheet metal was redone. They put a hood scoop on here. Why? Because they want people to know what's under the hood. Now, what you're going to start with is basically, look at that. That is a turbocharged 2.3 liter diesel turbocharged engine. Now, it's rated at 138 cubic inches. Okay, well, you'd say, wow, that's not a big engine. You're right, it's not. The secret in the horsepower comes from the turbocharge factor. It's got 115 more horsepower than the baseline engine for the Speed 3 series, which is available as a coupe or as a hatchback. Now, if you're going to go for the Mazda Speed 3, it is basically only a 4-door hatchback. Some says, well, it looks like a mini station wagon. Well, yeah, it does. Others also say because of the styling up front here, it's kind of the smiling clown. So some like it, others are saying, I don't know, I'm not real crazy about it. But hey, look at it this way. At least it's a smiling clown, the way the front end is. It's got what they call the grinning grille. Some of the other sheet metal things is they redesigned a little bit on the headlights, some of the sheet metal over the fenders and what have you. They also upped the tires in the wheels. You've got much more performance-oriented, what they call the low-profile tires. Now, this thing here, let me tell you, it adds to the traction. When it comes to this particular car, Mazda must not have bean counters that they let anywhere near the suspension system. This thing cuts through corners like a hot knife through butter. It's one of the smoothest riding, most responsive, particular test vehicles that we've had in a long time. And what does it do? It adds to the overall fun package. Keep in mind now, I've hooked it up to a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that puts out 263 horsepower. In plainer words, it's a rocket sled. It gets up and it moves. Mazda was smart. They built it with a good suspension system that also was redesigned for 2010. Now, some people have complained that, when you got a front-wheel drive vehicle, you got that much horsepower, you're going to end up with what they call torque steer. Torque steer is where the vehicle wants to kind of pull into a turn. Well, yeah, it does a little bit of that. But to me, that enhances the sports car type driving characteristics of a vehicle that's a lot of fun. Let's look at some of the other features on this one. It's a 4-door. When you look at the inside, you almost feel like you're looking at a cockpit. It's got a lot of cockpit type features. So, it's got a big tachometer, it's got a big speedometer, it's also got a boost gauge on there that lets you know when the turbocharge is kicking in. Well, to me, that's kind of ridiculous. Number one, you can feel it. Number two, you can hear it. And number three, if you're going down the road at 70 or 80 miles an hour, the last thing you want to be doing is watching the gauge on the boost factor for the turbocharge. Keep your eyes on the road. And trust me, when you get in this car and you start driving it, you're going to realize that the steering is extremely tight, very responsive. This is not a lot of sloppy steering going on. It's very tight, it's very precise. Now, like I said, that particular feel to it may take, if you're used to driving the family sedan, a little bit longer to get used to. But hey, guess what? It's worth it. One thing I would tell Mazda if they was going to do this again, I do not have an internal temperature gauge on the vehicle. I can't see what my engine is doing. So I would rather replace that boost gauge with a temperature gauge. Something as simple as that. All right. Like I said, large speedo tachometer. Everything looks real good. It's got a lot of steering wheel mounted controls. In fact, if you count all of the control buttons on the steering column and on the actual steering wheel, there's 17 different functions. They're kind of small, but yeah, they do work. This particular vehicle is the upgraded model, which has got a optional package, what they call the tech package. It's $1,900, and that's about the only option that's on this vehicle. What it includes is an onboard navigation system. It includes the Bose sound system, which is extremely dynamic, and it includes, of course, the proverbial key fob, which you've got to have to keep track of and make sure that you don't walk away and have somebody else trying to drive it, because guess what? They're not going to be able to do it. You either have to leave it in the vehicle or hand it off to somebody. Seats are comfortable. They're more the racing style. Big pedals on the floor, because this has got a 6-speed transmission, which allows this vehicle to get up and move. I mean, we can go from 0 to 60 in about 5.5 seconds. So it runs through the gears real quickly. Everything revs up nice. I like it. It's a good feel. Guess what? It's also affordable. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a minute. Moving to the back, of course, obviously, this is not a big vehicle. This is not a big, SUV. It's got a 60-40 split on the seat factor. The seats, again, are comfortable. You can throw the seats down, one of them, both of them at the same time, and that obviously will help you increase your cargo facility. Up on top, you've got the rails for a roof rack, but that is an option that I couldn't find anywhere in any of the Mazda literature, so I'm not even sure if they allow one for it. Maybe you can look for an aftermarket product on that, but again, wouldn't be a bad idea because of the fact, hey, if you want to put your skis up here, if you want to put your fishing rods and, small inflatable raft or what have you, it's going to greatly increase your room. Moving out to the back here. The Mazda Speed3's got a big hatch area. It's wide, it's good. Golf clubs, skis, everything can fit into it pretty good. Right now, like I said, with the seats folded down completely, you're going to have about 43 cubic feet maximum space in which to be able to store your goodies and take your stuff along with you. This is a vehicle, it's got about a 109-inch wheelbase. It's got an overall length of 177.6 inches. Got a curb weight at about 3,250 pounds. If you want to get the technical stuff, insofar as fuel economy, it'll do 18 in the city, 25 on the highway. Our combined was about 21. Why? Because it was fun to drive. I mean, you've got a lot of, as Mazda says, zoom, zoom factor in here. There used to be kind of an old saying, speed costs money. How fast do you want to go? Well, Mazda broke the mold on this particular vehicle and made this in the affordable range of about $23,000 to $25,000, depending on if you want the $1,900 optional tech package. If you don't, it's a bargain. It's a fun car. It's going to be something that almost you're going to say, wow, wish the others could do something like that. You want to know something? On this one, Mazda did it right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I'm Andy Lightbody on this edition of Wheels Afield.